I used to do food delivery on the side, mostly evenings and weekends, just something to help with student loans while I worked my day job in IT. I lived just outside of St. Paul, Minnesota. Quiet neighborhood, decent people, and enough streetlights to keep things from feeling too sketchy at night. Or so I thought. This happened in early November. Cold enough for your breath to hang in the air, but not deep winter yet. I remember that because I wasn't wearing my heavier coat, just a hoodie and a beanie, and my fingertips were still freezing. It was a Sunday, about 8:45 p.m. I had just picked up a Thai food order, 2 entrees, some spring rolls, and Thai iced tea. The kind of dinner someone eats when they don't feel like cooking. The customer had paid ahead through the app, and the note said, "Please hand directly to recipient. Do not leave at door." Simple enough. The house was only about 8 minutes away. I'd never delivered there before, but the map brought me to a small corner lot, 1-story home. Faded red brick, empty driveway, porch light on, but dim. Like, really dim. The kind that buzzes faintly like it's about to die. I noticed that immediately for some reason. I parked on the street and grabbed the food. No barking dogs, no TV glow from inside, no sounds. Just stillness. It didn't feel right. But you do this long enough, you stop overthinking it. I walked up to the door and rang the bell. No response. I knocked once, softly, then again louder. That's when I saw her. She was already standing behind the screen door. No footsteps, no creaking floorboards. 1 second I was knocking, and the next, there she was. Just standing there. A woman, probably in her late 40s. Long black hair, parted down the middle. Thin frame. She was wearing a tan cardigan, buttoned all the way up, and holding a cloth napkin in one hand. But the thing that hit me right away? She wasn't blinking. Her eyes were fixed straight at me, wide open, focused, no expression, no smile, just watching. I tried to play it off. Hey, I've got your order. 1 pad CU, 1 green curry, right? She didn't say anything, didn't move, just looked at me through the mesh screen. That porch light made her face look pale, almost gray. I laughed nervously and said, "Okay, so, I'm just gonna hand this through to you?" Still nothing. Then, slowly, she lifted the napkin in her hand and pressed it against her cheek. Still staring, still not blinking. I took a small step back and said, "Ma'am?" That's when she finally moved. She reached out, slow as hell, and opened the screen door. Just a crack. Enough for me to pass the bag through. So I did. She took it. Still didn't blink. As I turned to leave, I mumbled, "Have a good night." I glanced over my shoulder one more time. She was still there. Same spot. Holding the bag. Watching me. Didn't close the door. Didn't move. Didn't blink. I got back to my car and locked the doors immediately. I don't usually do that, not in this neighborhood, but something about that woman put me on edge. The stillness of her, the way she showed up without a sound, the way she stared. I sat for a second before pulling away. I don't even know why, just sat there, engine running, watching that porch. She was still standing there. She hadn't moved an inch. Something in me, I don't know what it was, told me to take a picture. Maybe just to prove to myself I wasn't being dramatic. So I slowly pulled out my phone, raised it to take the shot. But when I looked through the screen, she was gone. I dropped the phone. Looked up. Porch was empty. Door still open. I didn't blink. She was just gone. That's when I noticed the front window. She was inside now, just past the glass. No curtains. Same posture, same stare. Still holding the napkin in one hand, still not blinking. I drove off, fast. Took the turn way too hard and almost clipped a mailbox. My heart was racing. I felt like something had followed me out of that house, like her eyes were still on me even after I turned the corner. I went home. Told myself it was just a weird encounter. Maybe she was sick. Maybe something was wrong mentally. I didn't want to be the guy who judged someone with a condition. But here's where it gets worse. A week later, I was working late again. Different night, different neighborhood. I picked up a delivery around 9:30. As I was driving back toward the main road, I noticed a woman walking down the sidewalk. She was wearing the same cardigan, same hair, same walk, slow, arms stiff at her sides. I slowed the car, trying to convince myself it wasn't her. But then she turned her head toward me. Same face, same eyes, still not blinking. I hit the gas. When I looked in the rear-view mirror, she wasn't there anymore. No sidewalk, no trees, just an empty road behind me. It's been months. I haven't seen her again. But sometimes, when I'm alone in my apartment, I'll catch myself looking toward the window, or checking my door chain for the third time, or glancing at dark reflections in my TV screen, waiting to see those eyes again. And every time I close mine to sleep, I think about how wide hers were, how she never blinked, and I pray that I never see her again. But more than that, I pray she never saw me blink. I used to do part-time delivery for a local meal service that partnered with independent restaurants. It wasn't DoorDash or Uber Eats, more like a boutique thing in my area for people who didn't want their food arriving cold. The clientele was usually upper middle class. Bigger tips, less hassle. This happened about 6 months ago, on a Friday evening. I was filling in for a driver who called out, and I was already a little irritated because I had planned to head out of town that weekend. I figured I'd squeeze in a few deliveries and bounce. The order was for a house about 20 minutes outside the city. A ribeye dinner, some garlic potatoes, dessert. Clearly someone's stay-in Friday night. The delivery instructions were the first thing that made me hesitate. It said, "Do not approach the house. Drop it at the gate. Do not wait. Do not call." That alone would have been enough to make most people cancel. But it was already paid and tipped. I took the drive out to the address, which was in a sparsely populated rural area. Lots of big houses tucked behind long driveways, gates, and tree lines. The kind of place where you don't see neighbors unless you really try. It was just after 9 p.m. The sun had been down for over an hour, and the air had that dry, late summer chill. I remember driving past a row of unlit mailboxes and realizing I hadn't seen another car for nearly 10 minutes. The GPS finally said, "Arrived," but there was no house in sight, just a rusted iron gate set into a brick wall, about 6 feet high, with thick woods behind it. The only visible part of the property. I pulled over, stepped out with the food bag in one hand and my phone in the other, using the flashlight. The area was pitch black. No streetlights, no porch lights, nothing but distant chirps and a low rustling in the trees. The gate was chained shut. Not locked, just looped and hanging. There was no intercom, no keypad, just a metal plate with the number 114 painted in fading red. I placed the food bag neatly on the stone slab just inside the gate and turned to leave. But I swear, right as I reached my car door, I heard it. Metal shifting, like the sound of the gate creaking open just an inch. I spun around. It hadn't moved. The chain was still hanging loose, same as before. I stood there for a second too long, waiting, watching, listening. That's when I noticed a faint light flicker deep in the woods, behind the property. A soft, bluish glow like a TV through a window. But it was far. Too far for the sound I'd heard. I told myself I was imagining things. Maybe an animal brushed against the gate. Maybe I shifted the chain accidentally. I got in the car, locked the doors. Right before I turned the ignition, I checked the rearview mirror. There was something standing in the woods. Not close, not clear, just a shape. Tall, still. Between the trees, barely visible in the moonlight. I stared for maybe 5 seconds. It didn't move. I blinked, looked again. Gone. I should have driven off right then. But something about it didn't sit right with me. The bag of food was still sitting there inside the gate. No one had come to get it. I sat in the car for a few minutes, just waiting. I don't know what I thought would happen. Maybe some rich loner would appear in a robe, say thanks, grab his dinner, and disappear again. But no one came. Then my phone buzzed. It was a message from the service app. Not the customer directly. The system sends masked messages between users. It just said, "You forgot the drink." That made my stomach drop. I hadn't forgotten anything. There was no drink in the order. I double-checked the bag before I left the restaurant. I opened the app and looked again. The line item for a bottle of sparkling water had appeared. It wasn't there before. I stared at the screen in silence, and then, without thinking, slowly turned my head to look at the gate again. The food was gone. Bag, box, everything. Vanished. But no one had come to get it. I never heard footsteps, no cars, no doors opening. It was just gone. I froze. I didn't even breathe. That's when I noticed something. The gate. It was slightly open. The chain was no longer hanging where it had been. It had been looped around the bars in a different position, like someone had unhooked it, opened the gate just enough to reach in, and rehooked it differently when they left. I locked my doors again and threw the car into reverse. My headlights swept across the road, and as I pulled away, I caught a glimpse of the woods beside the driveway, maybe 30 feet in. There was a light. It flickered once, bluish, like before. Then it went dark. No house, no windows, just deep woods. The app pinged again. "You're not supposed to stay." That was the last straw. I floored it. I didn't stop until I was back near the highway, where the road started to get familiar again, and I saw real traffic. I pulled into a gas station, parked under the canopy, and just sat there, shaking. I called the service line and reported the address, told them everything. They said the order came from a verified user, someone named LR, with a local billing address. But when they checked the property listing, the house hadn't been occupied in over 4 years. It was marked as a foreclosure. The weirdest part? There wasn't supposed to be a gate at all. According to county records, the land had no fencing, no brick wall, no gate, nothing but a dirt path into private woods. I haven't taken a rural delivery since, and every time I pass a gated property now, especially ones where you can't see the house, I wonder what would have happened if I'd gone past that chain, and why, of all things, the only message they sent was, "You forgot the drink." This happened last winter. I worked the late shift at a 24-hour grocery store just outside of Portland. I'm 28, live alone, and at the time, I was still driving this old 006 Corolla that had over 200,000 miles on it. Thing was reliable, but had quirks, like the locks didn't always click shut unless you manually checked each door. That detail's gonna matter later. It was mid-January, freezing cold, pitch black by 5 p.m. I'd pulled an 8-hour shift and didn't get out until around 2:30 in the morning. The parking lot was dead. Just my car and a few scattered carts frozen to the pavement. I remember checking my phone as I got in. 2:37 a.m. I fired up the engine and let it warm while I sat in the dark, scrolling for music. My breath fogged up the inside of the windshield, and the radio took a second to connect. You know how it is when you're exhausted. You move slower. I sat there longer than I should have. I didn't notice anything off until I hit the first red light. It's a long light on Route 33, one of those awkward intersections with no one else around. I remember looking in the rear view out of habit and seeing the silhouette of someone in my back seat. Just a faint outline, shadowy, sitting upright behind the passenger side. My first thought was, I'm overtired. I'm seeing things. Second thought, did I forget to lock the doors when I got in? I reached for the dome light, hands shaking. The car was empty. Back seat totally bare. Just my old hoodie and a crushed Taco Bell bag from a few nights before. I exhaled. Must have been my eyes playing tricks. The light turned green. I shook it off and kept driving. But something didn't feel right. I kept checking the mirror. every few blocks. And once, I swear, I caught a glimpse of movement again. Like someone slouched down, trying to stay hidden. I pulled over near a closed gas station and spun around in my seat, full body this time. Still nothing. But I couldn't shake it. The silence in the car felt louder than usual. The air felt heavier. So I did something I hadn't done in years. I actually got out and checked the back seat, opened both rear doors, shined my phone flashlight inside, lifted the floor mat, even checked the trunk release latch. Nothing. Just cold air and old receipts. I got back in, locked the doors manually, and started driving again. That's when I realized my passenger side door was unlocked. I know I didn't leave it that way. I'd hit the lock button. I always do, especially that late at night. I locked it again, drove a little faster. I had maybe 10 minutes left before I'd be home. My place is in a pretty quiet neighborhood, but the last mile or so is just woods and farmland. No lights, no cameras, no houses. As I got deeper into the dark stretch, my phone suddenly died. From 23% to black. No low battery warning. Just dead. I muttered to myself and tossed it in the seat next to me. That's when I heard the sound. A slow, deliberate exhale from behind me. I froze. Didn't turn. Didn't move. Just stared straight ahead into the dark road, my knuckles white around the steering wheel. It wasn't my imagination. It wasn't the engine. It was a human breath. Shallow. Just once. Like whoever was back there didn't want to be heard. But they slipped. I didn't know what to do. My brain was caught between logic and panic. I told myself again and again, You checked the back seat. It's empty. But that sound, I kept driving. I didn't even consider pulling over. Not out here. I was a few minutes from home. I figured if someone was actually in my car, at least I'd be near people, near lights, maybe even cops. Then I felt it. The faintest pressure on the back of my seat, like a knee or hand pressing against it. I slammed the brakes. My car screeched to a stop in the middle of that empty road. I spun around, heart hammering in my chest. No one was there. Just me. Just the damn hoodie. But my seat was still tilted back slightly, more than it had been before. That pressure I felt, it had happened. I was sweating now. I floored it. Raced the rest of the way home, flying through stop signs and barely slowing for the last turn. Pulled into my driveway, jumped out, and ran to my front door without even grabbing my bag. Fumbled with the keys, got inside, and locked the deadbolt. I live in a one-bedroom, not a big place. But that night, I checked every closet, every cabinet, even under the bed. Slept with the lights on. Didn't go back for my car until daylight. When I finally did, the first thing I noticed was my passenger side seatbelt. Pulled out and buckled in. Like someone had sat there. Like someone had wanted to look like they belonged. I hadn't buckled that seat. No one had been in my passenger seat for over a week. It hit me like a brick. Someone had been in the car. And the craziest part? No signs of forced entry. No broken glass. Nothing stolen. Just that seatbelt. A few days later, I had my mechanic check for anything odd. He found scratch marks on the inside of the rear door panel, as if someone had wedged it open from the inside, maybe using a string or wire to pull the lock while the door was closed. He said it was possible. Rare, but not impossible. I changed my locks after that, got a dash cam, started double-checking every door, every time, even the trunk. It's been months now, and I haven't had anything else happen. But to this day, sometimes when I'm driving home at night, I'll catch myself checking the mirror too often. And I swear I still hear it sometimes. That quiet, drawn-out breath behind me, the kind that doesn't belong to you. If these stories sent a chill down your spine, Go ahead and tap that like button and subscribe for more eerie tales. What would you do if you were caught in one of these unsettling situations? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd really love to hear what's on your mind. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next nightmare.